Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through stacks of info to bring you, well, the really valuable stuff. And today, we're plunging into something really fascinating, personal growth. What makes this one particularly interesting is that our sources, they pull from two areas that seem pretty distinct at first glance. We're talking accelerating your career growth and mastering English communication. You might think, okay, how are those related? You know, one's climbing the ladder, the other's language fluency. But here's what really jumped out as we dug into the sources. They share, surprisingly, a lot of the same core principles for getting ahead today. This isn't just about surface tips. It's more about unpacking what real sustainable growth actually looks like.
It is remarkable, isn't it, how deeply connected these paths actually are.
Mm.
So our mission, really, for this deep dive is to pull out those practical, actionable insights and maybe some surprising nuggets of knowledge you can apply right away, whether you're focused on, climbing that career ladder or maybe getting truly fluent in English.
Yeah.
These principles are, well, surprisingly universal.
Okay, so let's start there then. Unpacking real career growth. What does that even mean today? I mean, a lot of us think promotions, salary bumps, right? But the sources seem to suggest it's deeper than that.
Exactly. Yeah, those external things are nice, obviously, but the sources point to a much richer picture. It's really about constantly developing skills, but not just any skills, future-proof skills.
Yes.
Things that keep you adaptable,
Yeah.
for whatever comes next. And it's also about consciously building your personal brand and honing those soft skills. And, crucially, finding that spot where, yes, you have financial stability, but it aligns with genuine personal satisfaction. It's more holistic.
That focus on future-proof skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really resonates. And speaking of skills, the sources really hammer home how vital communication is for getting ahead, especially once you're past that entry-level stage. We hear it all the time, right? Technical skills get you in the door, but then what?
That's a critical point. If tech skills are your entry ticket, then great communication is your express elevator up. The sources are really clear. Leaders aren't just tech geniuses. They are almost always masters of explaining things, influencing people, connecting. Your ability to get complex ideas across clearly, to persuade, build rapport, that really dictates your path much more than just raw expertise alone.
Right. So it's about making sure your skills actually land, that people understand their value. Okay, that leads us nicely into another big one. Networking. Most people kind of groan thinking it's just collecting business cards at awkward events. What's the deeper take from the sources?
Oh, it's definitely not about collecting context. Not really.
Yeah.
The sources frame it more as deliberately cultivating relationships based on mutual value. What was surprising, actually, was this idea that your real network often brings you these unexpected, really tailored opportunities, much more so than just scrolling through job boards. It's about genuine support, back and forth, not just, what can you do for me? It feels a bit counterintuitive sometimes, focusing on giving first, but apparently that's where the real payoff is.
Mutual value.
Yeah.
Yeah, that changes the whole knowing people thing.
Yeah.
It also makes me think about, well, understanding your own path. So if someone is looking to move up, how do they pinpoint the specific skills they actually need for that next step? You can't just guess, right?
Exactly. You can't just wing it. The best advice we saw was to proactively reverse engineer that next role. Look at job descriptions for positions maybe 1 or 2 levels up, even if they feel a bit intimidating right now. Break down the required skills. Be honest about where your gaps are. And then, this is the key part, create a really deliberate, targeted plan to learn those things. And, don't be afraid to just ask people. Mentors, managers who've been there.
Yeah.
They're often your best resource.
Okay, so see those dream jobs as kind of a curriculum for yourself. And underneath all the skills, networking, planning, the sources kept coming back to mindset. How does mindset beyond just stay positive actually fuel, or I guess stall career growth?
Yeah, it's more than just positivity. What really stood out was not just having a growth mindset, but the explicit advice to actively seek out discomfort. Deliberately put yourself in situations where you'll struggle a bit, where you have to learn fast. This belief that you could develop abilities through hard work. It just makes you so much more adaptable. And in today's world, with industries changing so fast, that adaptability isn't just nice to have, it's essential. Prevents you getting stuck.
That really shifts how you look at mistakes or setbacks, doesn't it? It's easy to say reframe failure, but actually doing it when you've messed up, that's hard. Did the sources offer any quick mental tools, something you can use right in that moment?
They did, actually. One really practical technique is the pre-mortem. So before you even start something big, imagine it's already gone wrong, totally failed. Then work backwards. Why did it fail? What could have caused it? It helps you spot risks up front and maybe head them off. And then after something goes wrong, instead of just dwelling on it, immediately ask, okay, what's the specific actionable lesson here? It turns the mistake into data, basically. And the sources really hit this point. Courage isn't not being afraid. It's acting anyway and then learning from whatever happens.
Seeing missteps as data, not defeat. I like that. Okay, what about that feeling of just being stuck? Career stagnation. Hitting a wall, no clear path forward.
Right, that inertia. If you feel that, the advice is get proactive. Don't just wait. Look for side projects maybe, things that stretch you a bit. Actively volunteer for cross-team stuff to get more exposure. Or carve out time to learn about trending areas, even if they're not directly part of your job description right now. And, if you tried all that and the internal doors really seem closed, then the advice is pretty blunt. Maybe it is time to strategically look outside for that growth.
We hear a lot about job hopping. Is that seen as a good thing or a bad thing in the long run, based on the sources?
That's a really nuanced one. The sources suggest it's less about how often you move and more about the why and the story you tell about it. Hopping can be great if each move is clearly a step up. New skills, more responsibility, better alignment with your goals. But if it just looks like you're chasing small pay bumps or there's no clear direction, that can raise red flags about stability. It really comes down to the intention behind each move and how well you can explain that intention.
Right, the narrative matters. Okay, building on that. Personal branding. Huge buzzword. But what does it actually mean beyond just having a decent LinkedIn profile? Why is it important?
Yeah, it's more than just online profiles. Your personal brand is essentially your professional reputation. It's how people think of your unique value and skills even when you're not there. The sources emphasize it's less about shouting about yourself and more about consistently creating value. Share what you know, engage thoughtfully in discussions, contribute genuinely in your field online and offline. If you consistently show up as reliable, knowledgeable, and helpful, opportunities start coming to you. It's about being visible, yes, but also trusted and authentically valuable.
That connects back to being proactive,
Yeah,
definitely. So where does mentorship fit into all this? Is it still as vital as people say? Any new angles from the sources?
mentorship is still incredibly valuable, yes. But the sources also highlight a related idea: sponsorship. Mentors give you advice, share insights, help you avoid mistakes, basically shorten your learning curve. Sponsors, though, are people who actively advocate for you. They use their influence to open doors, recommend you for opportunities, push for your advancement. You really need both. And building those kinds of relationships, whether mentor or sponsor, takes real effort. It's not just a quick, "Can I pick your brain?" email.
Okay, so it's mentorship and sponsorship. It really sounds like you need this whole package approach. If we compare soft skills versus technical skills long term, how do they stack up for career growth?
Early on, tech skills often get you in the door, right? They get you the job. But as you move up, especially into leadership, the sources are absolutely clear. Soft skills become the main thing. The primary differentiator. We're talking leadership itself, negotiation, emotional intelligence, handling complex problems, being adaptable. Those are the skills that let you navigate tricky situations, inspire people, and actually influence outcomes way beyond just what you could do technically yourself.
Okay, so soft skills really take the lead later on. Given all these insights, then, for career growth, what kind of simple daily habits could someone adopt? It sounds like consistency is everything.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. The sources really emphasize the power of small, regular actions. They add up. It's not about huge, dramatic moves. Think like just 15 minutes a day reading industry news or a relevant book, or consciously trying to practice one communication skill in your next meeting, maybe reaching out to one person in your network each week just to connect, and maybe taking just a few minutes at the end of the day to reflect. What did I learn? What went well? These little things, done consistently, they really form the foundation for that bigger exponential growth.
That's super actionable. Okay, brilliant insights on the career front. Now let's make that pivot we talked about to our other topic, but one that, as you said, is surprisingly connected: mastering English communication. Our sources dive into a really common frustration. People understand English pretty well, maybe reading or listening, but speaking fluently, that's the struggle. What's the main reason for that disconnect? Why is it so common?
Oh, it's incredibly common.
Yeah.
And the primary reason, according to everything we looked at, is basically an imbalance in practice. Learners often get really good at the passive stuff: reading, listening. They absorb tons of vocabulary and grammar rules. But they consistently tend to shy away from the active part, actually speaking, which can feel messy, maybe a bit embarrassing at first. But speaking is a motor skill, like playing guitar or learning to swim. You can read all the books about swimming you want, but you won't actually learn until you get in the water and start moving your arms and legs. It needs doing.
Right, the doing part. So for someone stuck in that loop, Understands okay, but can't speak smoothly. What's the absolute first, most practical step to really kickstart things?
Well, the very first step, maybe surprisingly, isn't even speaking yet. It's refining your listening. But focused listening. Before you can make the right sounds, the right rhythm, you need to train your ear to actually hear them properly. So the sources suggest really immersing yourself in authentic English podcasts, movies, whatever you enjoy. But listen with a new goal, not just what's happening, but how are they saying it? Pay attention to the intonation, the pauses, the flow. Even just 15 dedicated minutes a day starts rewiring your brain to process English more directly instead of constantly translating everything in your head, which really slows you down.
Okay, so active listening for the music of the language, not just the words. Got it. Once that foundation's a bit stronger, what's step two?
Step two is you have to start producing output. You got to talk. The sources are really insistent on this. Speak every single day, even if it's just talking to yourself.
To yourself?
Yeah, it might sound a bit odd, but the goal is just to break that internal silence, that hesitation barrier. Describe what you see out the window. Narrate what you're doing as you cook dinner. Practice little conversations in your head, but say them out loud. The absolute key here, and this is crucial, is not worrying about making mistakes initially. Fluency grows from confidence and just doing it repeatedly. Perfectionism, the sources say, is probably the biggest enemy here. It stops people before they even start.
Ah, okay, that links right back to the career advice about reframing mistakes, doesn't it? Don't let fear of error paralyze you. Makes sense. What about vocabulary? That's another huge hurdle for learners. Any tips beyond just memorizing endless lists of words?
Yes, definitely. Rote memorization isn't usually very effective long term. A much better technique is contextualized learning. Hmm. Learn words within phrases or sentences or through stories. There's this idea, sometimes called the three-word rule, you can adapt. Pick maybe 3 new words a day. But don't just memorize the definition. Actively use them. Try to put them into sentences about your own day, your own thoughts. So if your word is, say, resilience, don't just think resilience means bouncing back.
Yeah.
Try to say something like, wow, after that tough meeting, I really needed to show some resilience. Make it personal. That way, the words become part of your active, usable vocabulary, not just words you recognize when you read them.
Contextualized learning, making it stick by using it. Okay. What about grammar? Should learners get totally bogged down trying to perfect every single complex rule before they dare to speak?
Grammar's important, obviously, for being understood clearly. But the sources offer a bit of a counterintuitive view. Don't let it stop you from speaking. So many learners get paralyzed by complex rules, terrified of making a grammatical mistake. The advice is, focus on getting the basics right first, especially the main tenses, past, present, future, so you can actually convey your meaning. Communicate first, then refine the grammar later. Ultimately, communication is about getting your ideas across and connecting with people, right? Not about passing a grammar test every time you open your mouth. You can improve the grammar gradually as you get more fluent and confident.
Prioritize getting the message out over perfect structure, at least initially. Okay, so before we tie this all together, can you share one really powerful, quick daily exercise, something listeners could start like tomorrow to boost fluency?
Absolutely. There's a great little routine. Let's call it the Fluency 5. Just 5 minutes a day, first minute. Listen to a short English audio or video clip, something you actually find interesting. Second minute, shadow it. Repeat maybe 3 or 4 sentences from the clip out loud, trying to copy the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation exactly. Third minute, record yourself speaking for 1 minute. Just talk about your day or any simple topic. Don't judge it. Just get used to the sound of your own voice speaking English. Fourth and fifth minute. Take the, say, 3 new words you learned using the contextual method and actively try to use them in a few sentences out loud, sticking with just that 5-minute deliberate routine consistently. The sources suggest you can see really noticeable improvements in fluency in, like, 90 days.
Wow, Fluency 5, that's incredibly practical. Okay, so let's bring it all home. When we look at these two areas together, career growth and English communication, what's the big takeaway? What's the connection?
It's the overlap, isn't it? It's quite striking. In both areas, the absolute critical importance of clear, impactful communication just keeps coming up again and again. That whole strategy of reframing fear, seeing setbacks as data, that applies just as much to giving a big presentation at work as it does to trying out a difficult conversation in English. Identifying your specific gaps, whether it's a technical skill for promotion or better pronunciation in English, and then making a deliberate plan to improve. Same process. And that core mindset, continuous learning, embracing discomfort, being consistent, it's not just fundamental to one area. It's the bedrock for growth in both. They feed each other.
Right. So to sort of summarize the big picture here, Real growth, whether you're aiming higher in your career or mastering a skill like English, it isn't some overnight miracle. It's a continuous journey, isn't it? Built on showing up consistently, putting in intentional effort, and having that strategic, growth-oriented mindset. The practical daily habits we talked about, like dedicating that reading time, networking consistently, or that 5-minute English practice, they really highlight this power of small compounding actions.
Exactly. And it reinforces that the lessons learned in one area, like how crucial communication is or how vital it is to manage your fear and learn from mistakes, those lessons are profoundly applicable to the other. It creates this powerful synergy. Your
Okay.
personal development gets this boost across the board. Staying consistent with those daily practices, even when they seem small, that isn't just a suggestion. It really is the key, the absolute non-negotiable to seeing real, tangible results. Exponential results, even across your life.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Think about how those specific daily habits and mindset shifts we discussed, the ones for career advancement, the ones for English improvement, how they can be applied universally. How can those same principles, consistent practice, embracing the uncomfortable, reframing setbacks, active learning, how can they unlock that kind of exponential growth in any area of your life you decide to focus on? How can they turn your goals into reality? Something to think about. Until next time, keep diving deep.